I think that ever since those days, I'm speaking of the middle 50s, Zapata Offshore drilling company was involved in these operations with PEMEX. It's important to clarify that in the history of drilling in Mexico and mostly any other operation related with oil developments, there is only one company in Mexico, that is PEMEX. PEMEX is the government, and they operate like a drilling company, both on land and offshore. So we were manufacturing some mud pumps, draw works, and all the equipment related with oil. And we needed a floating rig, and we wanted to buy, and some friends of ours from Galveston introduced us with George Bush's father, and this was at the end of the 50s, and they had a floating device which was called in those days, I think, the NOLA I. NOLA I. And we negotiated with Mr. Bush, and he came to visit us in Mexico to see our operations, and they were never, and I want to emphasize that they were never associated with us. In other words, he was not a partner of our operations, as it was publicized due to political interests, both in Mexico and in the United States. I'm speaking the late 50s and the early 60s. Well, the Cantarell Field was, the PEMEX geologists knew about this field through the studies of they did offshore, but actually the legend says that a fisherman of the name of Cantarell reported to the Coatzacoalcos, is a port near the southern part of the Gulf, reported that Mr. Cantarell saw some big evidence of oil floating in the water. Yeah. That they received the report and did not pay any attention to him. However, when he brought the report to me, I was general director, I ordered immediately to make the necessary investigations, and they said, Director, we're ready to drill anytime you order us. So we commenced the drilling of 10 wells, 12 wells that became, before they started, I said, what do you expect to have in the way of production I asked the geologists, and they said, well, we expect at least 5,000 barrels per day. Well, it's not bad. But the first well was more than 30,000. 30,000. And we continued drilling, and really the wells became fantastic. Some 50 and even 60,000 barrels per day of medium density viscosity, which was pretty good. And ever since we continued drilling, we had enough money then to, I reported to the President of the Republic, and he said, well, what your plans are? Well, I want to continue drilling, and I need the necessary financing for that. I beg your authorization to go to the United States, to New York, searching for oil based on this information, so optimistic information that we have. And I said, okay, I approve. Well, I'm leaving tomorrow. I said, no. George, you're not in the private business now. You are in the government, and you have to have more red tape to fulfill. Well, sir, you go with the Minister of Finances, accompanied by all the people related with finances in the government, to assist you. And I said, well, all I need are my technical plans. Well, you do as I say. So we went to New York, and after a while we arranged some interviews, and they never let me, never allowed me to speak, because they took the lead, the finance people and the political people. And they never convinced the bankers that we could guarantee the amount that we wanted to lend. And so we went to another bank, and finally I said, well, look, fellows, you don't talk anymore about politics or finances. Let me put my technical part into this. Okay, George, do as you wish. And I threw my plans over the table, and the banker said, well, what's that? That's oil, sir. These marks that you have here. I said, well, just a second. He called an expert, an old man, and he said, well, this is fantastic. Where is this from? And we entered into the explanation, and we obtained the first loan that permitted us to develop Cantarell. Your question is how Cantarell was developed in this fashion.